I've seen time and time again. I've been with Vector 22 years, which is just crazy. I know I've been in Vector longer than a lot of y'all have been alive, but somehow I've been around that long. And I've seen over the years how an SC2 push, like when you really go after it, when you really give it your all, and there's going to be times where it's like, awesome, this is amazing. There's going to be times where you want to go cry underneath your desk or your bed or whatever safe space you have. It's going to be a mix of emotions. And if you give your all through that mix of emotions, you're going to grow a ton. And it can be a microcosm for how you show up literally for the rest of your life. Like, I know that sounds like hyperbole. This is like a 3-week period. Hey, Brooke, you just made it. It's going to be like a 3-week period, right? Or 2.5 weeks. I don't know exact 17 days. Somebody know? Anybody know?
18 days.
18 days.
18 days now, yeah.
John, thank you, Manager John. Thank you. Knows his stuff. So yeah, 18
I
days.
can count it, yeah. So little victories, guys.
So I know it sounds hyperbole, 18 days, but it can be a microcosm for the growth and how you face adversity and how you continue to go after goals, even when things get hard, how you continue to go after goals, even when you feel like maybe some of you're going to hit your goal early and then you can get complacent, right? So it's going to be a mixed bag for different people, but either way, this is going to be an opportunity to grow and learn and expand in ways. And for many of you, will be more in 18 days than maybe in 18 years. And that's what's ahead of you. If you really show up and really commit and really deliver. That's what's possible. That's what I've seen time and time again over the years. And so what I want to cover with y'all today is it's going to be a bouncing around a little bit. Some of this Kathy has seen, some of this none of y'all have seen before. And so I'm excited to dive in, and it's going to be, some of it's going to be me kind of talking about some psychology, some mentality stuff, kind of how to go in to produce your best, be your best. Some of it's also going to be kind of towards the end, depending on time. I'm also going to go over a few one-liners that I say in my appointments. I don't do a lot of selling now. Mainly my job is coaching, leadership development, etc., both in Cutco and also in my own business outside of Cutco. And you know, obviously there's some people that I coach and work with. But that being said, there's still some stuff that when I was selling, even up till 2020, a few years ago, I was the first rep. In 2015, I was the first rep in company history to sell 100 grand worth of Cutco selling 20 days or less. So I did 100 grand in 17 days. God bless you. So I did 100 grand in 17 days that year around coaching and speaking. I wasn't just lazy and only worked 17 days that year. My main role, coaching and speaking. Around that, I did some selling here and there, and I did 100 grand in 17 days. The following year, 100 grand in 15 days. And so I'm going to speak to some, not only the mindset that I think helped set that up, but also a little bit of a couple one-liners here and there that I say in my demo that I feel like really increases the value just by plugging it in here and there. I'm gonna cover that as well too. So that being said, before I dive in, let me just honor and congratulate you, not only for the push that you're going in, but also for being here. You're choosing to invest your time, your energy to grow, to learn. Do you know how many people your age are investing time and energy to grow and learn outside of school? It's an incredibly small amount of people, right? And even just generally speaking, most Americans stop all their learning after school. They never pick up a book to read. They like the most reading they do is like magazines or whatever they can scroll through on social media, right? It's kind of sad, but to choose to grow, to choose to learn, to choose to enhance yourself, to say, you know what, I'm great, I'm awesome, and I can be an even better version of myself, and I'm going to invest that time and energy to do that. There's not a lot of people doing that. Right. And there's other divisions that pay me lots of money to come in and do what I'm doing, but GCK is my home, H-Town representing. And so I'm here to deliver at no cost, but I am going to challenge and invite and encourage all of you to treat it as if you are paying for this. Okay. Because I am going to deliver some really good stuff. However, no matter how good the stuff is, who's it up to for you to get the most out of this talk?
Me.
For you to get the most out of this talk, it is up to you, for you to get the most out of this talk. Right. And that's just a general rule that you want to live by, right? You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. It's your response ability, your ability to choose your response, And you can respond with ability, meaning to the greatest of ability that you have in this stage and age of your life, you can choose to give your all and show up the best that you can from that place. By the way, Naomi, your recording stopped. I'm just going to hit the button on there, just so you know. Okay. All right. So that being said, a couple ways to get the most out of this talk. We practice a couple P's, and for those that are on my group coaching calls, y'all know how this works. First P we practice is presence. Right? Yeah, Jackie, you already know. All right, 2 talks, you got it down already. All right, presence. You want to be here in the moment. You don't want to be in your phones. Don't want to be in your head. If you're on your computer, put that on airplane mode or something that you're not getting like dings and notifications or do not disturb. Whatever you need to do, stay here in the moment. Because even if you've heard some of this before, most of this you haven't. But even if you had, you're never in the same river twice. It's always different flowing waters. Right? So if you stay present in the moment, even if you heard some of this, I promise you'll get more out of it. But it's up for you to choose to stay present. And presence is like a muscle, right? And nowadays the average American's attention span is 8 seconds or less. It's yes, thanks because of TikTok and other things like that. So it's basically the attention span of a goldfish. And goldfish are great pets, but they're horrible at productivity. So if you want to be more productive than a goldfish, you want to strengthen that presence muscle. Because most people, it's very weak now. One main reason why is because we get these dopamine hits every time we scroll up on our phone from novelty, every time we get something new, ooh, 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 ooh. And we're training our brain to enjoy distraction more than ever before. We've always enjoyed distraction because it gives us a sense of comfort. But more than ever before, we're like, oh, I got these other important things, but oh man, but what about you? Has anyone ever been in browser blackout before? Right? You're like, oh, doom scrolling? Yeah, like 3 hours go by, you're like, where am I? What happened? Where have I been? Right? So all that being said, use these talks as an opportunity to practice presence, to strengthen that presence muscle. And when you feel yourself drifting, okay, don't beat yourself up. Appreciate your awareness, catch yourself, and then come back to presence. And that's like doing a rep in the gym. And the more you can do that and then hold your presence, you increase what's called concentration power, which is a fancy term of saying you can just choose what you're focused on and stay focused. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do you think that would be a good skill to have for the rest of your life? Yeah. Especially as we go into a world where more and more people are more and more distracted? Yeah, it'll make you stand out. Right? Okay, and then we're also going to practice participation. I don't think we're going to do much interacting in this talk like I do in a lot of my talks, but at the very least participate, take notes, right? The way you can participate is just take notes, capture as much as you can. Even if you're a good mental note taker, you're always going to capture more if you write it down, even if you never look at those notes again. I do recommend looking at the notes again, but even if you don't, you'll retain more information. All right, okay. One of the P that we like to practice here, or excuse me, in my group coaching, is patience. And this is just really good to know because you're going to be having your patience tested in the next 18 days. When does push start?
Sunday. So
okay, after Sunday, and then the next 18 days, right? So one thing to think about patience, impatience is on the spectrum of anger. And anything on that spectrum, it's not over here by like rage, it's over here by like annoyed. But anything on that spectrum of anger, including impatience, is only on that spectrum because someone or something's breaking our rules for how things are supposed to be. If we're angry, impatient, sad, anything on that spectrum, it's because someone or something's breaking our rules for how things are supposed to be. And we're often most upset when we're breaking our own rules. And often these rules are unconscious. And not only unconscious, a lot of times they're unfair and unnecessary. So when we're feeling ourselves feeling impatient, sometimes we just need to check in. Like, what are my rules that I'm even having being broken right now? Are these rules even fair? Are they necessary? Sometimes yes, most of the time no. And so one way to practice patience is be curious first, critical second. Be curious first, critical second. If we're willing to break free from something called fundamental attribution error. Fundamental attribution error basically states we look at a problem, we look at a behavior, look at a result, and we tend to just jump into judgment. We're quick to criticize the person for the result, for the behavior. It's a fundamental attribution error. And we're like, what's wrong with this person? Why do they do this? How stupid could they be? And we just judge. And we do this to ourselves too, right? But to be curious first, critical second, basically means instead of doing that fundamental attribution error, we just judge the person, we're willing to take in context the situation that may have contributed. There might be more to this story than this person sucks. And if we're willing to be curious first, critical second, that can also give us compassion. And the world needs a lot more of that as well too. Okay. So if you're down to practice presence, patience, and participation, let me see some visual representation. Let me see this. Okay, cool. All right, so let's dive in. Ms. Jones, I'm going to use my notes because this is a talk I don't often give, and I just want to make sure that I'm not going to miss anything. Is that okay, Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Y'all still do that in your training appointments?
Yeah.
Do you let them know, like, hey, Michelle, I'm kind of new. I'm using my training manual. Is it okay if I just use the manual so I don't forget anything? And they're like, sure, I don't care, right? Okay, I'm just making sure I'll do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the joke would not have landed.
That's okay.
It still barely landed.
They don't laugh at my jokes either.
Okay,
so,
okay.
yeah.
I got a couple chuckles. All right.
Okay. Don't have to show off.
Okay, so let's talk about going into the demo. Let's talk about states, stories, and strategies. Basically, our life consists of states, stories, and strategies. The states that we're in, mental and emotional states, right? So that could be sad, that could be angry, that could be excited, that could be driven, that could be joyful, that could be enthusiastic. All these are different states, right? And there's different types of ways that you can get yourself into the right kind of state to show up in your demos with. Because so many people are focused on doing and having, doing and having, doing and having, doing and having. Doing and having is important. Even more important is being. Before we can do and have, the doing and the having stems from who we're being. And these states of being have everything to do with how you're going to show up, and everything to do with how your customer is going to receive you, and everything to do with how your customer is going to receive what you're communicating to them, and whether or not you're going to get into rapport. Does that make sense? So a couple of things that I can mention that I think can help with the right states. First of all, for me, it's prayer. I'm going to say a prayer that I go into. For some of you guys, maybe that's not your right thing, and I'm going to go over a couple other options that I cover with coaching clients. But for me, it's prayer, and I'm going to say my prayer that I call my prayer to serve. I say it before I came up here today. I say it before I go into my appointments. I say it before I get on my coaching calls. So anything where I'm going to serve, I say this prayer. I'm going to go through it quickly. You're not going to be able to capture it, but it's on recording. I think it's recording. Is that recording? I don't see it. I don't see people there.
It's right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, right. So it'll be on recording somewhere. Naomi's recording it too. So, and you're also welcome to pull out your phones, hit record as well. So I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to cover the essence of it, and then I'm going to cover some other options if prayer is not your thing. But for me, before I get on stage, before I go serve in any capacity, I say, Lord, thank you for these people. Thank you for the opportunity to help and serve them. I pray, Lord, that you please help me to do so the best that I can for your glory, for their good, and the good is in their lives. I pray, Lord, that you please help me to be confident, certain, communicative, creative, joyful, grateful, powerful, peaceful, loving, kind, wise, and present. Please help me to make these interactions enjoyable, comfortable, and well worth their time. I pray, Lord, that you please help me to teach and share with others today exactly what they need to learn and hear, and exactly how they need to learn and hear it, for them to best understand it, accept it, and apply it effectively, immediately, sustainably, consistently, and joyfully, and for them to best help themselves and those in their lives the best that they can. Please, Lord, help me to do this the best that I can for your glory, for their good, and the good is in their lives. Your son, Lord Jesus Christ, name I pray. Amen. Now, the reason I say that, and again, that might not be your thing, I'm going to cover some other options, but for me, here's a couple of reasons why I do that. First of all, I thank God for him. I thank God for the people. I thank God for the opportunity to serve and their willingness to allow me to do so. The willingness to allow me to do so means I'm not entitled to shit. I could have the most value in the world, and I'm not entitled to anyone receiving my value. Right? Cutco's amazing. People use it every day, their whole life, never have to pay for it again. It's insane value. And we're not entitled to people receiving it. So I give thanks for the people and even their willingness to allow me. And then I thank God. I also ask God for the states of being that I want to embody and embrace when going into serving. So that's why I say, Lord, please help me to be confident, certain, communicative, creative, joyful, grateful, powerful, peaceful, loving, kind, wise, and present. If I'm embodying all those things, there's a very good chance some of the best version of me is showing up. Right? Those are states of being. And for me, by my belief system, I'm going to the source of those states. Does that make sense? Okay. I then ask God, please help me to make this experience enjoyable, comfortable, and well worth their time. Because who's it about? Them. Serving them. The reason why I hit so many goals, sell so much, have such high average order is because it's not about me. It's about them and serving them. My goals, my income, all that is a natural byproduct of showing up and serving at the highest levels. Does that make sense? And then I asked, please tell me to teach and share with them exactly what they need to learn and hear and exactly how they need to learn and hear it, for them to best understand it, accept it, and apply it effectively, immediately, sustainably, consistently, and joyfully, and for them to best help themselves and those in their lives the best that they can. Now, obviously, when I'm teaching like this, that's a pretty obvious, like, help you help yourselves. But also when it comes to selling, my definition of selling is simply teaching the value of something to someone and why that value makes sense for them. My definition of selling is simply teaching the value of something to someone and why that value makes sense for them. That's it. I'm not pushing anything. I'm not forcing anything. I'm not making anyone do anything. I'm simply just teaching the value of something to someone and why that value makes sense for them. And when I accepted that definition, I was like, oh, I can do that. That's easy. I'm not forcing anything. I'm not pushing anything. I'm just teaching value and why it makes sense for them. And my job is simply to teach it in a way that it makes so much sense that they say, obviously, yeah, it just makes sense. Of course, I'll buy this industry. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I go to, again, to me, I go to the source to help me teach in that way. And for them to best, and even customers, help them help themselves and those in their lives the best that they can. Meaning when they're buying a set, they're buying the right pieces that are going to serve their needs, not only right now today, but for the rest of their life and then generations after that. Okay? Good. All right. So there's that. And then there's some other options too. And by the way, I can also share that. I've had enough people ask me for it that I can copy and paste that prayer to serve and I can send it out as well too. So I can send it to John or whoever, Kathy, whoever can get it to y'all. All right. Another way you can go about this is just focusing on what you're grateful for before you go in the demo. So if prayer is not your cup of tea, go into gratitude. And you might be having a rough day. You're like, I'm not grateful for anything, Mike. Okay, I understand, but you can still choose gratitude. If you could be grateful, if you decided to be grateful, if you chose to be even slightly kind of sort of maybe grateful, what could you be grateful for right now? And if you learn to flex that gratitude muscle, even in the midst of challenge, that is one of the greatest strengths you can ever have, is finding the good even when there's challenge. Because there will be challenge. There's 3 ways to respond to problems. There's 3 ways to respond to problems. First way is ignore them. How well does that work? Not pretty good, right? So the first way is ignore problems. Second way we can respond to problems is by blaming. We tend to blame 3 things. First thing we tend to blame is past events. Past events, because past events can't call you out. There's a manager I was coaching many years ago, and I helped him have like a 500K summer. So he did pretty good for his summer. And I was like, all right, Alan, now it's time for us to work on your physical health. All right, you need to get into the gym, man. And he's like, dude, I'd love to go to the gym, but I can't go to the gym. You see, I blew my knee out years ago playing soccer. And I said, oh man, that's tough. I'm sorry to hear that. That must have been one blown knee if you can't do a bench press. Sometimes the truth pisses us off before it sets us free. So he was like, F you, Mike. And I was like, look, man, you pay me to hold you to a higher standard, hold you accountable to a higher standard. And you know that's BS. You're blaming a blown knee from soccer like 15 years ago that's why you can't get, you know that's BS. But the past event's not going to call BS. That's why we do it. Second thing we blame is other people. Well, you know, if I just had better parents, if I just had a better teacher, if I just had better this, if I just had better friends, if I just had better customers, if I just had better leads, we just blame. Now, by the way, there are some instances where other people certainly played a part in some of our challenges, for sure. I'm not denying that. But if we just completely give all blame to other people, we're absolving our own responsibility and what we can do about it. And then the third thing we tend to blame is ourselves. And blaming ourselves is not the same thing as taking ownership. It's not the same thing as responsibility. It's just beating ourselves up. Just beating the shit out of ourselves, thinking maybe if I just beat the shit out of myself even more, then I'll win. Is it a good strategy if you play basketball and you miss the game-winning shot? Is it a good strategy then to roll your ankle on purpose and twist your knee and then go play the next game? Is that a winning strategy? No, but that's how most of us play life, relationships, and business. Maybe if I just beat the shit out of myself enough, then I'll win. Horrible strategy. And if you think that's how you've been winning, it's not why you're winning. You're winning despite it. And so that's not real ownership. That's not real responsibility. Real responsibility, the ability to choose a response, is focusing way more on what am I doing about it more than who am I blaming about it. Blame is 5% solution, 95% problem. How could I have screwed up? What's wrong with me? I'm such a loser. I'll never succeed. Why can't I ever win? That's beating ourselves up, blaming. Real responsibility, which is the third way to respond to a problem. Real responsibility, AKA finding the gifts. Finding the gifts in even the challenges. I'll explain that in a minute. But the third way, real responsibility, is 5% problem focus, 95% solution focus. So the 5% problem focus, you do, okay, acknowledge the problem, especially if you played a part in it, you acknowledge the part. And if you need to apologize, you apologize. Hey, I'm sorry. I made this mistake. I did this thing wrong. I'm really sorry. But now that's 5%. 95% is, what are we doing about it? How can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What am I meant to be learning from this? How would the best version of me show up and handle this? How is this happening for me, not to me? How is this happening for me, not to me? If you remember from my last talk, this puts us more on being affected, or excuse me, this puts us more on cause than effect. Most of us put ourselves in affected, life's happening to me. This puts us in cause, life's happening for me, life's happening through me. Okay? Okay, so that's real responsibility. And so that's how we can view problems. And here's another way to view problems, challenges that'll arise. So one day there was this guy named Norman Vincent Peale. This was like, I think back in the 30s or 40s, he was interviewing the heavyweight boxing champion in the world. And at the time, this heavyweight boxing champion in the world, like he was ripped, like he was swole, right? And so Norman Vincent Peale was interviewing him and he was like, you know what, sir, I just gotta ask, man, like, how'd you get your arms so big? Like you are ripped, man. Like you got like huge arms. Like, how do you do it? And the heavyweight boxing champion was like, are you just asking to make small talk, or do you really want to know? Norman admitted to his mind, he's like, well, I was asking for small talk. Shit, now I really want to know. And he goes, well, the way I sculpt these bad boys is I find the heaviest resistance and I push through that resistance and I pull through that resistance. And when I do that, I make these bad boys that you see today. And he goes, Norman Vincent thinks to himself, it's like, shit, he broke his Rolex. No, it's not that. He goes, shit, that's a powerful metaphor for life and for the problems we face in life. You see, our biggest problem is we think we're not supposed to have problems. But problems are a sign of life. The only people that don't have problems are dead people. So our biggest problem, we give this meaning, we face a problem, we're like, wait a minute, this is not supposed to happen. I'm never supposed to face problems. That's our biggest problem, is we think we're not supposed to have problems. But problems are not only a sign of life, problems are the necessary resistance we need to grow to the calling we're being called to. Problems are the necessary resistance we need to grow for the calling we're being called to. And oftentimes that calling is calling up to a higher standard. And when we face those problems and push through and find a way through that resistance, what happens is we forge ourselves, we become a greater version of self, more capable than anything we knew before. Okay. Okay. So as much as I hope this is like just the easiest, peasiest, most free-flowing, fun 18 days of your life, and maybe some of you will be that way, but
No.
even in the midst of even if you have like a lot of upward trajectory, it'll probably be some dips, some challenges, some what the F, and then you're gonna have to get yourself back up. And if you get yourself back up, you're growing. Make sense? Okay. Okay. So that was a little tangent. I didn't plan on saying that, but hopefully you got some value out of it. So by choosing gratitude, the whole point I was making, by choosing gratitude, even when things maybe aren't all that great, that's kind of us forging that gratitude muscle and strengthening our ability to be joyful and grateful, even in the midst of challenges. And then when things are awesome, we're even more grateful because we've worked that muscle out. Make sense? Okay. Okay. All right, so gratitude could be another thing where you just think of 3 things you're grateful for.
Just say them out loud. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. Maybe put your hand on your heart. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. All right, let's go do that demo. Another thing you can do. Also, you can do breathing. And so quick little breathing exercise. You're going to go in the nose for 4, out the mouth for 8. You do 5 of those. It has a massive impact on releasing and relieving stress and anxiety. All right, so for time purposes, we won't go through it today, but in the nose for 4, out the mouth for 8, you can dramatically reduce anxiety and stress by doing 5 of those. You could while you're talking right now, yeah. In the nose for 4, out the mouth for 8. If 4 8's too hard, do 3 6. Either way, you want the exhale twice as long as the inhale. Make sense? Okay. Okay. All right, let's move on to some of the stories. This is a lot of what we're telling ourselves. So first of all, you want to focus on what you want, why you want it, and then the daily actions to get there. You want to stay focused. You want to have it visually in front of you, vision board or something on your mirror or something on the dash of your car. But you want shit that's external, outside of your head, reminding you what you're going after, what you want, why you want it, and what are the key actions you need to do to get there. You need something outside of your head. You need visible reminders. Otherwise, you're just relying on hoping you remember, especially if you're kind of in a down state. That's not going to trigger the memories. So when it's outside of you, you can be reminded that way. So you need to remind yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? And what are the daily actions I'm taking to get there? If you do not stay focused on this, the 3 distractions will rob your focus. 3 distractions are, number 1, your fears. What if I don't hit my goal? What if I fail? What if I work my ass off and I don't hit it? What if I make 100 calls and no one answers? Oh my God, it'll be the biggest waste ever. And putting us in that state, is that empowering? Are you going to go crush your goals? Are you going to make it happen? Probably not. Right? So we don't like staying in fear. We don't like that distraction for too long. So then we go into the second distraction, which is easy pleasures and accomplishments. Easy pleasures and accomplishments is the second distraction. Right? When you're feeling uncertain, when you're feeling stressed, scroll on your phone. Feeling uncertain, feeling stressed, Netflix. That feels better. Or video games, or whatever. I'm not against phones. I'm not against Netflix. I'm not against video games. They're okay in the right amount of times, in moderation. They'd be great. I still do those things. But if we're constantly getting consumed in those things, then they're pulling us away from what matters. And especially when we're doing those things during a time where we know we should be doing what we want, why we want it, and how to get there. Right? So an example of this. Let's say you're supposed to do phone time. Like, you know, it's the best time to call people. And you're like, but look how dirty my dishes are. My dishes are so dirty. I can't let my dishes be dirty like that for another second. And you might hate doing dishes, but you're more certain of the outcome. That you can wipe grease off a plate, that you are people will answer the phone and say yes. Which one do you have more control over? The dishes. So because it's more certain, you might hate doing dishes, but you're more certain you can get that outcome. And then what happens? You wipe the grease, clean the dish, and you're like, I'm such a good human. Look how accomplished I am. I did dishes. I don't even like doing dishes, and I did dishes. Wow, I'm so good. Meanwhile, phone time not happening. Does that make sense? Yes. Now, am I saying don't do the dishes? No, I'm saying don't do the dishes when it's time to be doing phone time. Because you're using it as an excuse, or be cleaning a desk or whatever.
Yep.
Third distraction, other people's demands. Other people's demands. If you are not choosing to put your focus, your time, your energy towards what you want and why you want it and how to get there, well, then especially if you're a good person with a big heart who likes helping people, you'll just be pulled in every direction to help other people with whatever they got going on. Am I against helping people? No, I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to help people. All right, so what I'm here is to help you. I'm not against helping people. The challenge is when we use it as an excuse to avoid the thing we know we should be doing just because we're more afraid of that other thing. Make sense? I used to do this a lot as an assistant manager, like 18 years ago. It's crazy. So I'd be like, time for me to do calls and lead by example, right? Time for me to lead by example as an AM, make these calls, do my demos, hit my push goal. Let me lead by example. Make like one call, but look at all these reps who need my help. Oh, well, I know I got my own calls, but I got to make sure everyone else is doing their phone time properly. So let me go around. Hey, how's it going? How's your phone time going? Is it going great? Hey, remember using your approach. Oh, hey, how's your phone time going? Okay, good. Right? Not really even helping. Right? In business, there's this concept called touching versus moving. Touching versus moving, meaning like you go around just touching things. Like, oh, I kind of touched that. I kind of touched this. I kind of did that too. Versus actually creating movements. And when I was helping all those reps, I was just touching. I was not actually helping. I wasn't moving in a direction. Make sense? So yeah, help people. Yes. And don't let helping people become an excuse to avoid what you should be working on. Okay? Okay. All right, a couple other things here. Other stories we can tell ourselves going in. You want to avoid prejudging. Right? So, a couple examples of this. Back in 01, long before there was Google, I'm pretty sure it was before Google, at least before I knew about Google. And there was before GPS, and we had to like use like actual maps. It was crazy shit. I don't know how we survived. But I was using this map, okay, and I get to this referral of an appointment, and I pull in, and as I'm pulling in, I'm realizing I'm pulling into a trailer park. And I'm like, oh man, okay. So first my brain is like, oh geez, wow, a trailer, like it's like a tiny trailer. This is the home that I'm doing the demo in. This is not even a home, it's a trailer. And so like my brain at first goes, oh crap, this is gonna be a waste of time. Oh geez, they're not gonna buy anything. And so in that moment I had to catch myself, right? And my brain's primary functions, protection and survival, even protecting me from being wrong or protecting me from wasting time. So I had to say, hey brain, thanks for looking out, but I'm gonna show up and give this person my best. I'm here anyways. I'm here for a reason. I'm in this person's life for a reason. They're in my life for a reason. I'm gonna show up and get my best. And so I decided I was gonna treat her like she was the Queen of England, back when the Queen was alive, right? So I was gonna treat her like she was the Queen of England and that she could buy the whole blue book 10 times over if she wanted to. Like that's how I was gonna treat her. So I went in there and I go in and there's no kitchen table. So we sit down on her couch and she pulls out her little daughter's tea room set. It was probably hers, but she passed down to her kid because it looked really old from like the 70s. And it was like this tiny little table. So we were going to do the demo on this table that was like barely up to, not even up to my knees. So we're sitting on the couch. I'm like having her like cut rope and stuff on this table, right? And I remember the TV did not have a remote. It still had knobs, right? But I treated her like she was the Queen of England, could buy the whole book 10 times over. And I go through the whole thing. And basically at the end, she says, you know, Mike, as you can see, like, you know, we're not in the best financial position, but I cook every day. We can't afford to go out to eat. And I'm tired of using this junk that just makes my life so freaking hard every time I cook. Every meal I got to cook. And it's always a pain in my butt, but I got to do it. I can see how these tools are going to make my life so much easier. So I'm going to go and get the set. She got a homemaker set. She got kitchen tools. She got shears. It wound up being close to about $1,000 order because back then the homemaker was like $709 or something. So it was about $1,000 order. And of course she did it on payment plans, right? But because I showed up and treated her as if she could, she did. And that of course doesn't guarantee it, but at least gives it a chance by not prejudging. And then many years later, I think 12 years later, I was part of a national service call program, a test program for service calls where we do sharpenings. And we had this test program on how to find leads for that people that needed service, but weren't reaching the company. And basically I wound up getting sent to a lead that I didn't know where it was until I got there. It was in the middle of Third Ward. And when I got there, the house was very tiny. It's basically the size of my garage. It had bars on the windows and on the doors, right? Again, brain is like, oh geez, but I'm like, hey, I'm here to serve. I'm here for a reason. Go in there. They had a galley. They had a galley set, right? Long story short, they upgraded to an ultimate. They got flatware. They added cookware. It was over a 5K order because I didn't prejudge. Because I chose to show up and give my best to the person I was in front of and trusting that they were in front of me and I was in front of them for a reason. So I just want to make sure to cover that as well too. And whether it's like people in third ward, it could be someone with like a multi-million-dollar home, and you could be like, oh, geez, I don't even know if they're going to cook. Just remove prejudge, no matter what end of the spectrum they're on. Just remove prejudgment. Show up, give your best, do your best. Okay. Okay. Couple other things here. Some other story stuff, some other philosophy stuff here. It's one of the most important things I've ever learned in my entire life. I learned this guy from a guy named Hal Elrod. He was at one time #1 Cutco rep in the world. Now he's the author of Miracle Morning. He's a professional speaker. He gets paid $50,000 to give a 45-minute speech nowadays. And his book has sold 5 million copies worldwide. Before he was ever a professional author, though, he was my coach in Cutco. And he taught me this many years ago. It's one of the most important things I've ever learned. Need nothing, enjoy everything, love and appreciate all. Need nothing, enjoy everything, love and appreciate all. Need nothing, enjoy everything, love and appreciate all. So what does this mean? The only thing I need is God.
Period.
So based on my beliefs, the only thing I need is God. So if I show up on a coaching call and I'm like, oh man, I really need to deliver on this call. I really need to get this person a result. I also have a money back guarantee. And if I don't give them a result, then I ain't getting paid. And then if I don't get paid, then I ain't eating today. So I really need to show up and deliver. If I showed up that way, energetically, is the client going to be more inclined to trust my ability to get them a result or less? Less, because I'll be coming across as desperate. I really need this, right? When I'm working a Cutco booth, a Cutco events booth, I'm not like, oh man, I'm paying to be here. We had to split the cost for this booth. I need to sell this much so I can at least break even. Otherwise, I'm going to wind up paying for this thing that I didn't even make money on. Please buy knives for me. Less confident, right? So it's need nothing. I don't need to make a sale. I don't need to have clients. I don't need them to buy from me. I don't need their leads. I don't need the CPO. I don't need to hit goals. Need nothing. Enjoy everything. I enjoy having clients. I enjoy selling them lots of knives that are going to change their lives for the better for the rest of their lives, generations to come. I enjoy getting to interact with them and blow their minds about knives because chances are they didn't know shit about it before they got to me. I enjoy helping them not know anything about this product and all of a sudden they're spending $3 grand on it a little bit later. I enjoy knowing I'm making that kind of impact on their families for generations to come. I enjoy that, but I don't need it. I enjoy producing high levels of CPO. I enjoy having an $1,800 average order. I enjoy producing at high levels in minimum amounts of time. I enjoy it, but I don't need it. I enjoy having made 50K in those 15 days, but I don't need it. Just like a coaching client, I don't need them. I just enjoy having them and I enjoy serving them and I enjoy helping them get results, but I don't need it. And when you can go from need nothing to enjoy everything, you go from desperation to inspiration. You go from desperation to inspiration. And most people would rather buy from inspired than desperate. Does that make sense? Need nothing, enjoy everything, love and appreciate all. Love and appreciate all. So what does this mean? Most people operate from, this is one of my favorite John Roman quotes, by the way, from my favorite John Roman quotes, which is, there's two types of people in the world, people I know and love, and people I love and have yet to know. Two types of people in the world, people I know and love, and people I love and have yet to know. And there's going to be people out there that might have different belief systems, maybe different political affiliations, whatever. Doesn't matter. Love and appreciate all. So the appreciate all, this is what I mean. Most people operate expectation than appreciation. You meet my expectation, then I'll appreciate you. You meet my expectation, then I'll show you appreciation. That's how most people operate. I do my best to operate appreciation over expectation. I just show up appreciating. I just show up appreciating. I say it in the very beginning of the demo, Miss Jones, thank you so much for even having me. Like I said, I get paid just to show you, and like this stuff's amazing. There's a very good chance you're gonna love it and we'll want to get it. But regardless of whether you get anything or not, thank you so much even just for your time. Thank you so much even just for your time and for taking the time to even help me with my goals. Thank you so much. Before they've ever said yes to an order or gave me leads or anything, like just thank you. Appreciation over expectation. When you operate that way, and you're just appreciative of people and just appreciative for the chance to help people, appreciative for the opportunity to serve because we're not entitled to it, people respond to that differently. And then you're much more likely to exceed expectation. You get that difference? Need nothing, enjoy everything, love and appreciate it. John, I had no idea when this talk started, so just let me know when I need to shut up.
Hey,
Sorry.
look, I have no idea when this talk
Okay.
started.
No. Okay. All right. Until y'all tell me to leave, I'm just gonna cover a couple of things. Okay. All right. So.
I think it started around 1:50.
Okay. Oh, maybe. Okay. All right. So more
Is
a
that
little bit.
that? 1:50?
Maybe.
Okay.
Let's say 1:30.
No one's yelled at us yet. I
Okay.
think
So
we're good.
if at any point,
Yeah,
just let me
because
know.
We're appreciating all.
Okay. Good
So,
call.
yeah.
All right. So
No one's prejudging.
okay. Good. All right, so I wanted to mention that, and then other couple quick things. The two reasons we go after goals is not for the goal. The goal is super important. The goal gives us a destination. It gives us the thing that we're going after. So the goal is important, but you're not going after the goal for a number. Two reasons we go after goals. Number one reason, self-actualization. Self-actualization. There's a fancy way of saying we become more of who we actually are.
There we go.
When we go after a goal and we have to push ourselves towards that goal, where we have to stretch ourselves, we grow, we become more of who we actually are, more of what we're actually capable of doing. People that don't go after goals, they often don't experience that. Without the goals, there's often no growth. So we have goals because they help us become more of who we actually are, self-actualization. Second reason we go after goals, lifestyle creation. Lifestyle creation. Would you say most people are living the lifestyle that they want to live? No. Most people settle for life. Most people are not creating life. What Tony Robbins says is most people are managers of their circumstances, not creators of their life. Based on my belief, and for those that were in the talk and we did the thing where I had you twist, right? And then I had you imagine twisting further, and then you twisted further actually, right? There's incredible power in visualization. There's credible power. Based on my belief, I believe that we're made in the image of our creator, and he made us creators in his image. He's capital C creator, we're lowercase c creators, but he made us creators in his image. We've been given this ability to take something in our mind and go make it real. That's effing amazing. Most of us, though, are not taking that power and taking advantage of that power. We're just thinking of fears, thinking of bullshit, and then more fears and bullshit are showing up in our life. We're like, what's happening? Because we're not being conscious or mindful. But you have the ability to imagine something that you want in your life to be a certain way in your mind and then go make that a reality. That's an incredible power. And the only people that are creating the lifestyle that they want to create are the ones that have that image of the lifestyle they want first in their mind and then are committed to go creating it in reality. AKA goals. Make sense? Okay. Okay. So lifestyle creation and self-actualization. That's why we go after goals. And whether you hit the goal or not, obviously I hope you hit it, but whether you hit it or not, in pursuit of it, those two reasons are what you get out of it. It's more of who you actually are and more of an understanding of how to create the life you want to create. All right. And then when it comes to sharing goals, let me share this real quick. I think this is really important. I remember sharing this with Taylor St. Laurent. She broke some records years ago, and she said this really helped her. I shared this with Alex Noel. People that don't know that name here, but Alex Noel is a rep that I coach out in the SEC division. He did 51K for their SC1 push. And he's going after 100K for SC2. And he's a pretty newer guy. Like, he's only been in the business for a couple of years. Most people doing those numbers, they're vets, right? And so this is something I taught him that I feel like he feels really helped him hit that 51K for SC1 push. So here's my 4 steps to goal sharing. Number one is I just simply share like the goal I'm working towards, right? Like, here's the thing that I'm going towards. And I want to paint a vision. So it's like, Ms. Jones, I'm going to go to a conference and all my peers are going to be sitting in front of me while I'm on stage, right? And like, I get to go up there and I get to meet the division manager, and I don't know if Floyd's going to be there, maybe not, but region manager. I don't know.
Yeah.
So region manager as well too. He's like basically vice president in our company. And I'm going to get to shake his hand, meet him, and I'm going to get awarded a trophy in front of all of my peers. So it's going to be like the Academy Awards or the ESPYs or something like that. It's going to be really cool. So I paint a vision of what it's going to be like, right? Second step, as I tell them the emotional roller coaster. The emotional roller coaster. So I'm committed. I'm going after this thing, but oh my gosh, I'm honestly pretty afraid because I'm not guaranteed these results. And I'm working my butt off, but I'm not guaranteed. I'm not guaranteed. I'm so excited to hit this goal. I'm giving it, Mom. I'm so excited, but it's also like, oh my gosh, when's it gonna happen? So that's the step 2, is kind of the emotional roller coasters people can relate to, like what you're going through. Like, I'm so excited and it's also scary, and I'm really excited and it's also scary. Step 3 though, but either way, I'm committed. And though I'm committed, like I'm going after it. It's an emotional roller coaster. There's no guarantee I'm gonna hit this goal, but I'm giving it my all to the very end, Miss Jones. I'm giving it my all to the very end. I'm giving it my all until it says zeros on the clock. I'm gonna leave it all in the field. I'm gonna leave it all in the court, or any other sport metaphor you want to acknowledge. I'm gonna leave it all out there. I'm giving it my all because this means so much to me. Step 4, appreciation. So that being said, I really appreciate your willingness to help me. I've got these big goals. As you can see, I'm doing more than just trying to rid the world of bad knives. I've got a lot of meaning and purpose behind what I do. So step 3, appreciation. So just thank you so much for even just letting me share my goals. Thank you so much for even just giving me a chance to go through this appointment with you. This means a lot. I've got some really big goals, as you can see. I'm doing more than just trying to rid the world of bad knives. There's a lot of meaning and purpose behind what I'm doing. And I appreciate even you just taking the time. Thank you. And regardless of whether or not you get anything today, regardless of anything you get anything, it just means a lot that you're even seeing me. So thank you. Okay. Okay. Kathy, just kick me off whenever. I don't even know when I started. I'm sorry. So I'm just.
We're past, but anything else you want to share real quick or any questions?
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So then I'll cover.
She's like, I'll cut my part.
Oh,
I just
okay.
make sure I go over a couple things, but you're good.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Sorry. And thank you. All right. So you guys getting good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Another thing here that I think can help. So this is like a little bit of like a how to say things. This is pretty high level neurolinguistic programming stuff right here. So it's statements versus questions versus commands. So what do I mean by that? So when we're saying a command, we want a slightly descending tone. A slightly descending tone. So it's going to be like, hey, I need you to send that for me. I need you to spell that for me.
Oh.
Right? So, but notice how it's a slightly descending. I need you to spell that for me because I'm giving a command. Questions, we want a slightly ascending tone. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
Right? The reason I'm teaching you this is because this is easier for the brain to process information when the tonality is matching the words. When the tonality doesn't match the words, it creates confusion. Let me give an example of this. This is generally speaking, this is not the case in all times, but generally speaking, women tend to ascend too much. Men tend to condescend too much. So let me give an example. So if a woman is giving a command, she's like, I need you to do that for me. Does that sound confident?
No.
It creates confusion, right? A guy, though, on the other hand, if he's like asking a question, but he uses a descending tone, it can become condescending, right? So it can look like, when are you ever going to do that? You see that? Most human beings are completely unconscious of this, but we feel the effects of it when we're receiving the condescending or the improper ascending. It creates confusion, right? When we give statements, we want more of a monotone, like just simple statement. Like this is matter of fact. I'm giving this talk. You can probably tell I'm giving this talk because you're listening to it. Very simply monotone, right? So let me now show you how to work this, how to make this work, right? So you want to ask questions, especially in the demo, as if it's no big deal and you expect an answer. It's no big deal and you expect an answer. And I'm going to tie this in the tonality part. But you want to act like it's no big deal. Have you ever asked someone what time it is?
Yes.
Right? When you ask someone what time it is, you're not like, excuse me, can you please tell me the time? I need to know the time now. See if we can get y'all kicked out of this office. Right? If you ask someone, Miss Jones, I need to know the time now, please. Can you tell me the time? Can you tell it to me, please? They're going to be freaked out. Miss Jones, you want to get this set today? Leave my house now. Okay. But if you're like, you want to get this set today? Just like you'd ask, do you know the time? Can you tell me the time? Do you know what time it is? Okay, well, thank you. Obviously, you don't know what time it is, hence my timing of this talk. Right. So thank you. Right. But notice how like no big deal that is. Right. You know what time it is? Can you tell me what time it is? NBD. Right. Makes sense? So, Ms. Jones, you want to get that set today? And now let me show you how to combine this where you have ascending tone with a question and slightly descending tone with a command. So it can look like this. So Ms. Jones, do you want to pay in full or just put it on 5Pay? Now, even though I'm asking a question on that second one, I'm essentially also giving a slight command. Do you want to go and pay in full or you just want to put it on 5Pay? I think I'll just put it on 5Pay. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's what most people do. Do you see how I use that? Now, as I'm teaching you this, use this for good, not evil. Okay? Use these powers for good. Because when you use the right tone with the right words, it just clicks more easily in the brain of the customer. And this is influence versus manipulation. Let me tell you the difference. Manipulation is when you get people to do things for you. Influence is when you get people to do things for themselves. Right? Right now, I am influencing y'all. I'm teaching you information that if you use will better your lives. Right? I'm not doing this any of this for me. If there's natural byproducts that come from this, cool. Right? But it's not about me. This is about serving y'all right now. So when you use this information to help your customers help themselves by getting something they're going to use every day for the rest of their life and will never have to pay for again, that's influence. You see the difference there? So use this to influence, not for manipulation. All right. I'm trusting everyone in this room is good people, hence I wouldn't teach this stuff to bad people, but I'm trusting. Right? We might have had seasons. Where we maybe weren't the best versions of ourselves. But I trust right now, good people are going to use this for good. All right. Is that clear? The tonality stuff right there? Yeah. So subtle, but it can make a world of difference for how people receive the information you're giving them and how you're asking them and they're part of that information. All right. And then quick couple of things too. One of the most important things you want to do is you want to make sure you're building rapport when you're starting your demos. So build rapport. Rapport is essential. You don't want to skip rapport. You don't want to be like, oh, Ms. Jones, I got 8 demos today and I just need to dive in. You ready for the start of the demo? Like, no, rapport is like 40%. You don't want to take 40% of the time for rapport, but the effectiveness of your demo, 40% of the results of your demo come from rapport. Come from people feeling like, hey, I like this person. Rapport is when people like people who they're like or who they want to be like. People like people who they're like or who they want to be like. And for some of these adults, you can show up and just really just be the best version of yourself. And there's going to be a part of them that either likes you as you or would like to be like you or wish that the younger version of them was like you.
I want to be like you.
Does that make sense? So how do we have likability? Couple of quick things. Rapport is much more about being interested than it is about being interesting. Rapport is much more about being interested than it is about being interesting. We don't have to have some cool story that we tell all our customers. No, you just have to give a shit about your customers. You just have to care. You have to be curious. You got to be interested in what they're sharing. You got to be interested in what they're talking about. And even if you don't have the greatest of interest in the things that they are talking about, you're interested in them and the fact that they're talking about it to you. Does that make sense? So if you meet a customer like, oh, Ms. Jones, that's really cool. Those pictures on your refrigerator. What is that from? Right? Or whatever. They may have a screensaver on their computer. Oh, Ms. Jones, that's really cool. Is that you and your daughter? Where's that at? and you're like genuinely interested in knowing the answer. Does that make sense? If you can become more of a curious type person that is genuinely interested, even in things that don't have an immediate impact on you and your life, but you are genuinely interested, people will feel that genuine interest and they will care a lot more about you. They will start feeling like, oh, I like this person. And when they feel like they like you, then when it comes to asking for an order or giving you're giving their advice, like you're giving them advice on here's why I think this piece would be best for you, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I trust this person. They're telling me I should use this knife. Oh, I trust this person. You see why that matters?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just some guy or girl coming in to make a demo, to do goal, to make some sales, to make some money. And that's okay, but it's not going to be best results producing. So be interested, be genuine, and be interested. Be genuine, be interested. Another quick thing I can teach you about, and also be very present and appreciative, right? One of the greatest states you can be in, I talked about states earlier, being faithful and grateful. Being faithful and grateful, being faithful and grateful. Faithful is just confident, certain. Okay, yeah, for sure, yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Faithful and grateful. So, there's the whiteboard. Let's see how I can do this too. Okay, that's all I'll say. One other thing about rapport. You want to be the same version of you going into the close that you were the whole demo. This is key. People are like friendly, like, oh, this is great, Miss Jones. I'm really enjoying my time. This is so much fun. We're cutting whatever, and we're doing great. This is awesome. And then it's like, now it's time to ask for the order. Dun, dun, dun. Miss Jones, I'm now this mysterious, weird figure that is very awkward and uncomfortable and afraid, because what if I did all this for nothing? We're not saying these words, but that energy shift is not good for a close. It's not good for closing on the order, right? So we want to make sure that when we get to the close, we stay in that no big deal, I expect a yes, just like I'm asking them what time it is. Energy, right? Stress comes from making things a bigger deal than it really is. Failure comes from making things a smaller deal than it really is. Stress comes from making things a bigger deal than it really is. Failure comes from making things a smaller deal than it really is. So things might be really important, but if we make them exaggerated importance, we're giving ourselves unnecessary stress. If we're belittling its importance too much, we're like, oh, whatever, I don't care, whatever. Then that's failure. Then we're gonna fail. You gotta find that balance where we're honoring its importance without exaggerating it and without deflating it. So yes,
This
it's
is the
important.
first time I'm
but
seeing
don't
your house
stress
in
your customers
daylight.
out because it's
I wasn't
so.
really paying attention on my left.
You get that energy? Okay. Go ahead.
I know every
All right.
I like this.
I'm gonna show you
Yeah.
this real quick.
This
Mark
one
that
is
I have
like-
on this whiteboard?
Yeah, the
Oh,
shoe
like
has,
behind there.
Sophia and
A mother-in-law.
Oh yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so some of y'all saw this. I'm not going to go through this
Mia's
again. I
calling.
just did this talk, but I'm going to point out something really important with this. So some of y'all saw this at SE1. Okay, does anyone remember what this cycle is called? It does have
Yeah.
potential in it. Yes, yes.
Success cycle.
Success cycle. Yes, Jackie, thank you. So it's got potential here. That's what you're remembering. You were just giving me the first word. Thank you. It's got potential, actions. Here's results. Here's belief / certainty. Now, the reason I bring this up is A, to show you don't have to have good writing to sell a lot of knives. And B, here's why I'm bringing it up. Because I want to show you what happens with something that can be a major impact. So when I first started selling Cutco, I was not getting recommendations. And this might, for some people, might land home for Rex. For some people, this might be selling sets. Whatever it is, there's maybe some limiting belief we can hopefully relieve you from, and therefore we get better results. But here's what mine was when I started selling Cutco. I was not getting recommendations. I was nervous about it. I thought I was bothering people by asking for Rex. So then I started to create this story, this belief that says, I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. Where was that coming from? That was coming from results of me not getting Rex and making sales. I was making sales, not getting Rex, right? So those results were feeding into that belief. I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. Because that started becoming a belief, our beliefs precedes our actions. So I believe this, therefore I wasn't tapping rep getting or rec getting potential.
And when I asked, I was like, you wouldn't want to give me people who want to buy a bunch of knives, would you? No, I didn't think so. Right? So my actions were really poor because I didn't believe. Because I had this story, I can get sales, but I can't get recs. So I had to turn this around. So first thing I needed to do is I needed to change that story. And to change the story was, I get sales at Garrick's all day, every day. I get sales at Garrick's all day, every day. Now my brain goes, bullshit. No, you don't. Look at your track record. You're not getting recs. Why does the brain do this? Because your brain does not care about your success or your relationships or your life as much as it just cares about protecting you and oftentimes protecting you from being wrong. Okay, so I had this story, I can get sales and I can't get recs. When I try to change the story, my brain goes, nuh-uh. Here's an example where the brain does that. Who's ever gone into the kitchen, and as you're getting in the kitchen, someone says, hey, will you grab the salt? And you're like, I don't know what the salt is. I don't want to get the salt. I'm just going to get some water, man. I don't know what the salt is. And they're like, come on, you're up anyways. Will you please grab the salt? And you're like, fine. You're walking to the kitchen. I don't know what the stupid salt is. I don't know what the stupid salt is. I don't want to get the salt. You open the cabinet. There's no salt here. And they're like, it should be right there. And you're like, there's no salt here. And they're like, it should be eye level, second shelf in front of your face. And you're like, there's no salt here. I don't know what you're talking about. And then they come storming into the kitchen. And they're like, is this the salt you didn't see? And they put it right in your face. Has anyone ever had a similar situation to that? Okay, first of all, is the salt really there? Yes, that's why they put it in your face. Second of all, did your eyes see the salt?
Yes.
They did. Your eyes did see the salt, but your brain did not let you perceive it. Because you told yourself the story, the belief you reaffirmed, I don't know where it is, I don't want to get it, I don't know where it is, I don't want to get it. There's three primary things that change the subconscious mind. Little side note. First thing is repetition. 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 Second thing is emotional intensity. Second thing is emotional intensity. This is why when people go through an emotionally traumatic experience, it often changes their beliefs. When I hit the 18-wheeler head on when I was 18 years old and I was a punk kid doing a bunch of hardcore drugs and I hit that 18-wheeler and I survived, I was like, oh, maybe I'm here for a reason other than getting effed up every day. It changed my beliefs. So second thing is emotional intensity. Third thing is authoritative source. When we trust someone as an authority, we often let them shape our beliefs. Repetition. Number two is emotional intensity. Number three is authoritative source. So I had to be my own authoritative source and I had to give myself new programming. I had to give myself new programming. So in this case, I don't know where it is. I don't want to get it. I don't know, especially you have some emotion around it. Stupid salt. I don't want to get stupid salt. So your brain does this. It goes, fine. Then there's no salt to be seen. And it creates a scotoma, psychological imaging. A scotoma, S-C-H-O-T-O-M-A. Every human being has 1 to 5% of a blind spot in their vision. And the brain fills in that blind spot, which whatever it thinks is supposed to be there. These are scotomas. And so it's not like you see like a black silhouette of a salt shaker, right? Like you see something there because your brain paints an image of what it thinks is behind the salt, in front of the salt, just so you can be right about not knowing where it is. And that's salt. Imagine what we're doing with the rest of our lives. Who's ever said, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time? Well, you will only think of the time that's filled and not the time that's available.
Mr. Jones.
Right? So in essence of this, the reason I say all that is because I had a program. I can make sales, but I can't get recs. I had to change the program. I get sales recs all day, every day. I had to say it with repetition. And I had to put some emotion into it. I get sales recs all day, every day. I get sales recs all day. My brain goes, nuh-uh, nuh-uh, nuh-uh. I get sales, shut up, brain, it's my voice now. I get sales recs all every day. You got to do this in person, privately, otherwise people will think you're psychotic. I get sales recs all day, every day. And eventually my brain goes, oh yeah, that's what we do. We get sales recs all day, every day. Because it doesn't care what the program is. It just wants to run the program. Once I finally reprogrammed it, it started running that program. But I had to initiate that program with repetition and emotional intensity. I also had to change another belief though. And that belief was I'm bothering people by asking for X. I just asked them to spend $1,000 on knives, and now I'm also going to ask them to give me people to go also sell thousands of dollars on knives too. Oh my gosh, I'm such a bother. Here's something really important. Whenever you're the authority and it's your demos, you're the authority. They're the authority of how much money they're spending. They're the authority of their checkbook. They're the authority of their credit card. But it's your demo. You're the authority of the demo itself, the presentation. Whenever you're the authority of something, how you feel will always influence how they feel. So you're the authority of asking for X. How you feel about asking for X will always influence how they feel about being asked of X. So when I felt like I was bothering people asking for Rex, it influenced people to feel bothered by me asking for Rex, not because they would have been bothered, but I influenced them to feel bothered. Does that make sense? So I had to change that belief. So that changed that belief to I'm bothering people to I'm serving people by asking for Rex. Well, why did I get that? Where did I get this serving people by asking for Rex? Who here likes helping people? Do you think customers like helping people?
Yes.
Yes, otherwise they wouldn't let you do a demo in their home. These people generally like helping people. And as much as they like helping maybe some kid, I say that not condescendingly, just according, relative to their age, as much as they love helping some kid with some knife thing they don't even know about, chances are they like helping people they know even more, right? And so and that customer, is that one customer in front of us the only one that deserves the value of something that's the world's best product of its kind, the world's sharpest knives according to Modern Marvels and History Channel, which makes it the world's best. Something they're using extremely practical every day for the rest of your life, will never have to pay for again, and will literally pass down for generations to come and has sentimental value from every generation to every generation. That's immense value. We said that earlier, right? Using every day for the rest of your life, world's best, and will be in their family for generations to come. Is that one customer and that one demo the only one that deserves that value? No. Their friends, their family, their work colleagues, their neighbors, their church members, whoever else they know deserves at least the chance to get that value. At least a chance. So by me asking for their names and numbers, I'm simply giving this customer an opportunity to help people they know, their neighbors, their family members, their church members, whoever they know, their friends. It's helping them, give them a chance to get something they'll use every day for the rest of their life and never have to pay for again for generations to come. That's all I'm doing, is I'm helping these people help people they know. That's what asking for Rex is. Because those people at least deserve the chance. And there's one little change in the rec approach that I added that addresses this. And again, this is a recording. You probably won't be able to capture all this, but watch the recording. So I say, Miss Jones, I'm not looking for people you know will buy. Because honestly, no one knows if they're going to buy it until they see Cutco for themselves. I've had customers write down a name and number, and they're like, oh my gosh, go see this person. They're going to buy everything. And they bought nothing.
Yeah.
I've had customers write down a name and number and say, this person's super tight with their money, really frugal, but they're nice to let you do the demo, but they're probably not going to buy anything. And they've been like 5K orders. So no one knows if they're going to get it until they see it for themselves, Ms. Jones. So I'm not looking for anyone you know will buy, because there's no way you could know. I'm just looking for anyone you know who breathes air, eats food, and has a pulse. If you knew anyone at all who breathes air, eats food, has a pulse, they'd be perfect. Really, Ms. Jones, all I'm looking for is anyone who you think deserves a chance to see Cutco for themselves so they can decide if it's right for them. All I'm looking for is anyone you think deserves a chance to see Cutco for themselves so they can decide if it's right for them. And again, there's recordings, you can capture that later. All right. So when I changed that story and I changed that belief, so I'm instead of bothering, I'm serving people, I started getting Rex, and eventually I got more Rex than I could ever see. I got more recommendations that I could ever possibly see. Now, years later, I was at a conference and this guy named Sean Henry came up to me. And Sean Henry was like, hey man, I've been in the business for about a month. I'm doing pretty good. I sold 30K my first month in the business, doing pretty good. I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. Running out of people to see, man. I make sales, but I can't get Rex. I heard you could help me with that. I said, Sean, I literally used to tell myself the same story. I can make sales, but I can't get Rex. Let me tell you something. So I told Sean everything I just told you, right? And then I told him this. I just like freestyled this off the top of my head. All right. I said, Sean, you got to be certain, absolutely certain that this is going to work. Let me show you how certain you got to be. Let me show you how certain you got to be. And I said, this morning, did you run over to the window and throw the blinds open and say to yourself, oh my gosh, I hope the sun rises today, because if not, it's going to be a really cold and dark day. He goes, no, I didn't do that. I was like, so you were so certain the sun was going to rise. You didn't run over to the blinds. You didn't go check it. You didn't go make sure. You didn't go hope. You didn't go really see if it happened or not. Like you just knew it was happening. Like, you just knew it just happened, right? Sunrise. He's like, yes. I was like, okay, cool. What about tonight? Are you going to run over the window, throw the blinds open, and say to yourself, oh man, I hope the sun sets tonight, because if not, it's going to be a really bright and hot night. He goes, no, I'm not going to do that. So I said, you're so certain the sun's going to set. You don't have to check on it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You just know it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. He's like, yes, I know the sun's going to set. You just know it's happening, right? Yeah, cool. Our company's the exact same way. We just tend to overcomplicate it. But let me show you how our company works. It's pretty simple. You see, first we make calls, then we get demos, then we make sales, and then we get recs. Well, what happens after that? Well, then we make calls, and then we get demos, and then we make sales, and then we get recs. Oh, cool. What happens after that? Well, then we make calls, and then we get demos, and then we make sales, and then we get recs. Well, surely, what happens next is then we make calls, then we get demos, then we make sales, then we get recs. It's just what happens. It's just what happens. And guess what? When you know it's just what happens, your customers know it's just what happens. And then I told him this, and again, this was freestyle off the top of my head. I said, so Sean, the sun rises, the sun sets, you get sales, you get recs. It's just what happens. The sun rises, the sun sets, you get sales, you get recs. It's just what happens. The sun rises, the sun sets, you get sales, you get recs. It's just what happens. That year, Sean started in May. He went on to finish #1 rep in the nation in 8 months. Silver Cup winner. The next year, he won his second Silver Cup. He was first rep in company history, won back-to-back national championships. The following year, he quote unquote retired from Cutco. And I say quote unquote because he's back. But he retired from Cutco the next year to go start a company with his dad. And I was in his home office in San Marcos, Texas. And I was looking over at this stack of notebooks in the corner of his office. And he goes, hey man, I don't know if you remember this or not. And by the way, if you ever meet Sean, spot on impression. Hey man, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you know, you told me years ago that like, you know, the sun rises, sun sets, I get sales, get recs, man. And like, I decided I was gonna make my weakness my strength, and I turned it around, man. And you see those stacks of notebooks over there? Those are all the people I never even had a chance to call. I was like, what? And it was 5 stacks of notebooks. And I took one of them, opened up, it was college ruled, filled front to back, top to bottom. I was like, damn. You really did get good at reps. He's like, yeah, man, I made my weakness my strength. That's how I won those back-to-back national championships. And now he's back. Now he's shipping like over 500K a year. He's in the Hall of Fame, all that stuff. Now, Sean's no one special. I'm no one special. I just shifted some beliefs, tapped into that potential, took some better actions when I was asking for those recs, and I started producing results. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do get sales, I get recs all day, every day. The sun rises, the sun sets, I get sales, I get recs. It's just what happens.
Period.
Okay?
Okay.
You guys got that?
Yeah.
So the rest I'll have to get to you at some other point, because I have definitely exceeded my time, and definitely be grateful for Kathy if you guys got anything out of this, because she's allowed it. So
Thanks, Kathy.
so yeah, make sure you give